The lesson.
Oh yeah.
Now let's talk, I guess, some favourite Australian hip hop releases.
I like the Rob Nat album, the Brad Strutt album, first releases. My favourite old school track was always the Funkstickle Theory by Mama's Funk. That was still a classic to me. Yeah, those other two stand out. The Bias album, obviously, you know, without being biased, but you know, I still like that album.
Is Beeswax the one with Back in '88?
Yeah.
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 Was that your production?
Yeah, it did back in '88.
Wow,
yeah.
that shit's dope.
Yeah, back in '88, and there was two versions of it, I think, as well. I'm not sure if, I can't remember which one's on the album, but there was two different versions of it. There's actually a few different versions of it. And then later on, you know, I used the acapellas. I sent the acapellas to Bias, and he did his remix album or whatever, something with the acapellas off the first album.
Now, I'm going to throw some names out there.
Yeah.
And first thing that comes to mind when you hear the names. Lyrical Commission Stage is Set.
Yep. Great album. Great album. That to me, it was for a group defining, you know, for Melbourne, it was great. I really like that. And I still have the album, you know, it's mint condition still. But yeah, for me, and it was the first time I really got to, you know, see J-Red as part of a collective group like that on vinyl like that. It was good.
Yeah, that custom made songs, bananas.
Yeah. Good album, man.
Peg's Axis.
Another good album, but I never really, I never really associated much with Pegs, you know? Especially with the whole Obese record stuff, other than Reason, but, you know, Reason, I worked with Reason before he joined Obese, so, you know, I mean, there's like, I still remember going to, there's this club in Adelaide, I think Vinrock was DJing or someone, and I think Hilltop Hoods couldn't get in the door or something. I had some other DJ or something at the time. I was real young. I remember them when they were young, before they were like old enough to get in the club. So, yeah, man, it's really shows your age.
Well, I guess on that note, the Hoods album, Left Foot, Right Foot.
Yeah, actually, I think I have a couple of copies of that still. Yeah, on vinyl. On vinyl or bootleg? I'm sure it shouldn't be bootleg, but yeah, I can't remember. I still remember the Hoods albums when they came out. I was really surprised, you know, because I remember seeing these guys when I was really young, you know, when I'd go to Adelaide and stuff, and to see it release, you know, I was like, wow, you know, it really gives you a good sense of like Australia, you know, we're growing. It's really good, you know. I mean, and the more I saw other releases, because, you know, back in the early days, you know, you see Death Wish Cast released their album in Sydney, and that was great. Then Brethren, and, you know, that was great. And like, you know, someone in Adelaide comes out, and then someone in Melbourne comes out, and it's just like, yeah, we're finally it's getting there, you know. So yeah, the Hoods have come far up.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I don't think.
I would never. Look, I'll be truthful, man. I never thought those brothers would be where they are today. But that was thinking back then, you know.
Well, I don't think anyone. I mean, I could be wrong, but I imagine, you know, back in the '90s, no one really thought hip hop in Australia would have its own industry. And
well, you know what? Back in those days, it was sort of like the given thing that, you know, we're only going to be here, and that's what we're going for, you know. Because I remember I was working with these other brothers, Size One and Fella B. They're called the Vandals, and we took some demos, and they had a connection through Warner Brother Records. And we went to see the A&R guy at Warner Brother Records in North Melbourne, when they used to have Warner Brothers there. We went in there, we sat down with them, played them the tunes. They liked the tunes, and the first thing the guy said to us, can you do cover tracks? Can you do cover songs? Can you do copies of other people's songs? We like what you got, but can you do, you know, a Run DMC song or this and that? They want us to do cover tracks. And I looked at Fella B and I looked at Size One, and I said, this is your call, but I'm not going to do that, because that's not what hip hop was to me. And yeah, we ended up leaving and didn't go through with it after that, you know, because I couldn't do that. That's just something I couldn't do, you know. Just wasn't hip hop to me. Copying other people's music, that was biting, you know. And as an old school dude, biting, you don't bite. So, but yeah, so the whole thing like that, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
One that came a bit later, well, yeah, it was a bit later, so I think it was 07, Brad Strutt's Legend Official.
Yeah, great album. Still, you know what, I have it. I played 2 tracks off it at the club. We did this club UK, joint up the road here, or up there or somewhere in the city. And yeah, the production on that was crazy. I was like, wow, man, this is like, the production, even like on the Lyrical Commission, you know, this is like, you know, we're really there now. We're with the players in New York and stuff, you know, because for me, my big influence has always been a New York sort of a vibe, you know, that sort of sound. Always liked that. And then in the 90s, and that was really heavily into you know, Bomb Squad production, you know, because it's funny, I had DJ FX over at my studio last night. We're talking about 90s hip hop and 80s hip hop and things like that, as opposed to today. And I think the thing that we felt the most, that we don't feel no more, it all comes back from the fact that everything in those period, most things in those period, were all sample based. There was a lot of samples, you know, and good kicks and snares and stuff, and that's what made that 90s hip hop really good, you know, because a lot of samples in there, and you can funk. It's sort of like they've taken the funk out of it now, and you just don't have that same vibe, you know. So we really connected with the music back then, whereas it's harder to connect now. There are some good tracks that, don't get me wrong, I do like a lot of music today, but that really influenced back then, and that was a big thing that we loved about the community. And when Bomb Squad came out with, like, I think it was Ice Cube's first album, America's Most Wanted, and the whole backstory I read in the Check the Technique book about that, it was like, it just made it even better, you know, to know they went in the studio, got to crate the records and made it. And it's like, yeah, because that's how we made records back in the day. You know, I did the same thing. On my record, I took the Baby Huey track and the Lynn Collins Think, and, you know, made the track, you know, and put the drum and snares over it and the kicks, and it was just, that's how it was done. Today I don't hear a lot of that, you know. That's why, you know, if I hear something, it's got to be real special, man, to really pop for me.
The lesson. Oh, yeah.